So NIO stock was up 9.82% this week and 35.13% this month. In this video, I'm going to be going over the company NIO, what are its fundamentals. Also, we'll be talking about its financial statements, what's the outlook on the company, what are potential catalysts, and also I'm going to reveal how much NIO I hold and where do I think the price of the NIO is going to be. What's up everyone, my name is Cash. This channel is all about investing with Dr. Cash. If you like this video, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. I'll also link timestamps in my description, so if you want to just skip to that part of the video, you're welcome to do that as well. So NIO has been compared as a direct competitor with Tesla, so I want to provide some overview about the company, what do they actually provide as services, and how do they compare in terms of market share with other companies. So NIO essentially is also an EV maker just like Tesla. They build electric vehicles, provide services that are premium, as well as provide innovative charging solutions. The company's focus, just like other EV makers, is also to dominate the EV market and keep expanding. However, NIO particularly tries to expand itself into the European market, as well as grow its presence in China. Their mission is a bit different than Tesla's, for example, because NIO essentially tries to focus and emphasize a lot on lifestyle. So they don't want to just make money off of one car that you buy, but they want the customers to keep coming back for following services and so forth, just like how Apple has its services with Apple iPhones, Apple iPads, Apple MacBooks. They essentially also want to do the same for themselves and create a lifestyle just like how Apple has built for itself. NIO's particular focus is in the EV sedan business. They actually have different EV models. They have the ET7, the EC6, the ES6, and the ES8. One thing I want to highlight is as NIO has very strong support from the Chinese government. The Chinese government supports the construction of more battery swapping centers as part of the country's growing electric vehicle infrastructure, and the government support for battery swapping system is a great advantage for NIO's Chinese car market. The reason why this is a great advantage is because the subsidies of EV automakers who produce new energy cars with swappable battery packs, the big thing and the big concern with these sort of electric vehicles is the pricing. And NIO, because they have swappable batteries, puts them at an advantage because the price restrictions don't really apply to them, and therefore they can continue providing good service to their customers. Another great service NIO offers is its battery as a service business model. So what NIO tries to do is provide this service so that people can actually afford the subscription of batteries monthly by paying monthly premiums rather than paying upfront, so that it becomes more affordable for users. Now, like I had mentioned in my Tesla video, if you have not checked it out, I recommend you check it out as well. I'll link it up right above here. But in that video, I did mention that Tesla is the EV leader and they hold the biggest electric vehicle market share in the US. However, NIO is not trying to compete with Tesla so much in the US space because Tesla already is dominating in that space. They're trying to establish their presence in the Chinese market and also establish their presence in the European market, because that is another huge market for the EV. And I'll be discussing some key catalysts that drove the stock almost 10% this week, which can drive the price of the stock even higher. So stay tuned for that and watch this video all the way until the end. So as I had talked about how NIO is trying to establish its presence in the Chinese market, that is all well and that is all good. However, it's very important, as I have already talked about in my other videos, to look at the financials of the company. All right, so this is NIO's Q1 2021's earnings, and let's take a deep dive into this. So just some highlighting features for this is that delivery of the vehicles were 20,060 in the first quarter of 2020, including the different types of vehicles, that pretty much the sedans that NIO provides. It represents an increase of 422.7% from the first quarter of 2020, and they also provide the information that that is an increase of almost 16% from the fourth quarter. So that is great. The company is actually ramping up its production, which is something that you want to see. So NIO did a good job on that. Let's look at the vehicle margin though. The vehicle margins was 21.2% compared to negative 7.4% in the first quarter of 2020. So this is good because this is positive. You want to see that. You don't want to see negative, because if it is negative, then the car manufacturing company is losing money on every vehicle they produce. And it's actually up 5% from 17.2 in the fourth quarter. So that's also good. The third thing you want to look at is also the revenue, right? So let's look at the revenue. 1.21 billion in the first quarter of 2021. That is an increase of almost 482% from the first quarter of 2020, and an increase of 20.2% from the fourth quarter of 2020. Now this is actually good. The reason why this is good is, of course, it's really good from last year. I mean, it's almost up 500% from last year's first quarter, but it's also good compared to the fourth quarter, because in this earnings call, NIO mentions that they are having chip shortages, which has drastically impacted their production. Even with that, this is actually good revenue. So let's look at their profits. Their profits are also positive in the first quarter of 2021 as compared to the first quarter of 2020, where they were actually at a loss. Okay, so definitely that's good, and that also represents a 36.2% increase from the fourth quarter of 2020. So I like this very much. And even if you look at the net loss, their net loss was 68.8 million, which is a decrease of 73.3% from the first quarter of 2020, compared to a decrease of 67.5% from the fourth quarter. So this is all good. I am loving these numbers. The company is actually progressing. They are expanding, they're ramping up their production, they're positive revenues, they're growing every year. If you look at their gross profit margin, that was 19.5% compared to 17.2% in the fourth quarter of 2020. And if you actually look at Tesla's earnings, the Tesla's earnings had like 22% for the first quarter of 2021. They're not as good as Tesla yet, but definitely they're ramping up that production. So as I've discussed in my previous videos, I also like to talk about the assets and the liabilities. So we want to look at the trend. So December 31, 2020 to March 31, 2020, you can look at that the assets went down, right, from 54 million to 9.3 million. So that is actually a low number. The cash and the cash equivalents went from 38 million to 4 million. Okay, so that's pretty much where the company probably lost a lot of its assets. But let's look at the liability. Like, are they neck deep or no? Let's look at that. So liabilities went from 22 to 4.6 million. That's not as bad either. I mean, the liabilities are low, but the assets have gone down a lot. Now this could be concerning that the cash equivalents are going down if the company was not producing revenue, or they were not growing, if they were having bad gross margins, if their net loss was higher. Like, all that information is also relevant. The reason why I don't think this is as concerning, because the cash and the cash equivalents are not just spent anywhere. They are spent in ramping up the production for NIO vehicles and NIO sedans, so that's actually good. They're also expanding in other markets, which is big. So the much awaited NIO Norway launch has been finally announced as the Chinese automaker prepares for its entry in Europe, its first export market. This was the words the company announced that the NIO ES8, which would be the first product for Norway, followed up by the ET7, which is scheduled in 2022. This is actually great news, because Norway is actually a hot market in terms of EV. Like, in March 2021, the electric vehicles accounted for 56% of all new car registrations. Another thing I want to point out is that buyers in Norway bought 8,624 new electric passenger cars in March 2021. Also, let me know in the comment section as to whether you hold NIO or not, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're liking this video so far, just take a step back and do me a favor. Just hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. It only takes a second. And with that being said, let's get right back into the video. So as I had mentioned that I was going to reveal my position in NIO, so I'm doing as I had promised. So as you can see from this screenshot right here, that now this is just my Robinhood account, and I actually own 53 shares at an average of 44.49. So I think my average, which is about 44, is not so bad considering my long-term projection and outlook on the company. Let's take a look into my TD portfolio as well, because I also have some NIO shares in my TD account. So you can see that I own 23 shares at a cost of $47. I am very bullish that this can essentially go to $100 very easily. So I am holding NIO with that mindset of long-term investment. I am not trying to trade NIO. Again, this is not a financial advice. Please consult your financial advisor before you make any investment decisions. My name is Cash. This channel is all about investing with Dr. Cash. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for the next video.